Hey everybody, welcome back. We got another episode of the Corvette here. I know a lot of people think these are about the most hideous things on the road, and they're not the prettiest. They're definitely outdated, but they are probably the cheapest V8 rear-wheel drive fun that you could possibly buy. It's very, very affordable. So I highly suggest, if you don't currently have a project car out in the yard, go pick you one up. They're fairly easy to work on, and they can be a lot of fun. So just want to give you a heads up on some of the errors that I've already run into. We reached out and bought a MSD HEI distributor. Did not know it at the time, but apparently the 86 Corvette had an electronic advance, not a vacuum advance like your standard HEI distributors. So had to resort back to using one of the original standard distributors. So we're going to get that installed now, get some plug wires on it, and put some spark plugs in. So as I mentioned before, this does have another wiring harness since it's a computer controlled spark advance versus vacuum. So we'll get this wiring harness plugged in here. Behind the scenes, we went ahead and took a white paint marker and marked the balancer. That way we know exactly where top dead center is. She's a snug fit. So we want to go ahead and preset our rotary button towards cylinder number 1. This has a standard GM small block firing order 184366572. I'm going to give it a little wiggle, and it seems like she's seating in there just right. So we'll come back and put the distributor hold down tab on it. Went ahead and pre-anesthetized some of our spark plugs. Not going to pain you through the process of putting all the spark plugs in. So we're going to go ahead and jump on that and see you back here in a second. All right, we're back. We're going to start getting plug wires on. We have distributor cap set. Number 1 has been identified. We'll start getting these plug wires put on. Try to figure out all the links on them. So I'm going to start with number 1. I'm going to skip number 8. Number 4. I'm going to go to number 3 next. So we're going to skip 6 and go to 5. And number 7 is located right beside 5. Wants a booger to get on. All right, Miss Katie, I'm coming to your side if you want to swap with me. So we're going to go back to number 8, which is all the way to the front of the motor. Going to number 4. I believe I made a mistake on number 8. 8 would be at the back of the engine. So we got 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. If y'all have a better way that y'all like to do this, something easier, feel free to drop it down in the comments. I'd love to hear it. I really wish I would went with a straight plug instead of a 90-degree boot. That would have made this a lot easier. So far, I bought the wrong distributor. I bought a set of spark plugs that I didn't need. And I bought a set of boot protectors that won't work either. That was a little snug right there. We may end up swapping it out with another one. Reach back in there and try to get number 2 on. I don't know if you can see how tight that is up against that firewall, but that is very tight. I believe it locked in. I do have some wire separators. I'll get put on here and clean this up. Make sure they're not touching the header. Now I think we can roll the motor over. We don't have any of the power hooked up to the distributor yet, so there won't be any fire going to the cylinders. We still don't have a fuel pump in it. So I'm going to go ahead and connect the battery. This will be the first time I've rolled it over with a starter. One of the main reasons why I was wanting to roll it over is try to build up a little bit of oil pressure before we go to firing it off. Now we're going to start assembling the fuel pump and fuel sending unit. So as you can see, we had to replace the previous sending unit. It had seen its better days. Corvette Central is where we purchased this. I did order the gasket kit, and it came with a strainer. Also, it come with the bolts. And we opted for the Aeromotive Stealth pump. It comes with the pre-cut hose length and hose connectors. I'll try to get a snapshot down in the gas tank before we go putting this pump in. We still have a little bit of debris that we need to get out of there. So even though the hose was pre-cut, they give you plenty of extra. So I'm gonna grab a pair of Kleins or side cutters, cut that to length. Don't forget your other hose clamp. I really should have jacked the back of the car up too. It would have saved my back. So we were supplied with a wiring harness on the new pump. You have a power and a ground here. We'll make the new connection there. We have plenty of extra wire here. So we'll cut this to length, butt connect it, because I don't have a original adapter. I'll check the old one. So it's the same. Yeah, I'll just cut this one adapter pigtail off, grab some butt connectors and some heat shrink. We'll get this assembled, take a look inside the tank, and go from there. So after contemplating it for a few minutes, that's an excessive amount of wire. This wiring harness clip connection here is not going to benefit me in any way. So I'm going ahead and removing both of them. Use some butt connectors and some heat shrink. So we'll go ahead and snip these off. I'm going to leave them a little long. That way if I ever need to use this plug for something, I'll have it. Same with this one. Be nice if that plug would plug right into that pump. So we're going to skin back our wires. I'll go ahead and lay our heat shrink out, get it ready. Black to black. Almost messed up there. I'll crimp them down. I'll see if they'll pass the tug test. Oh yeah. Grab our other butt connector. So we got one connection left. Get the red and white tied together. Get them crimped. See if it passes the tug test. Looks like a pretty good connection. Slide our heat shrink down. Make sure it's pretty even on both sides. Feels pretty good. Don't forget for this step to borrow your wife's hair dryer. Even sweeps. What are you doing, Miss Luna? You come to visit? you go. Now we're ready to put the sock filter on. We'll take a good look at the inside of the tank, make sure there's no more debris left in the bottom. Worst case scenario, break out the shop vac, clean it up. So the tank was at least taped up. See if we can get a shot with our bore scope. From what I can tell, it looks pretty good in there. We'll start working on our connections back here. All right, our sending unit and pump is fully assembled. Tank's clean. We're gonna go ahead and get this wiggled in. There's only one way to put this thing in. There's 2 bolts at the very front and 3 at the very back. Make sure you're not pinching wires or pinching your gasket. Also, don't forget about your electrical connection. We've already tested this. We rolled the car over a couple times. Make sure we had fire on the fuel pump. You don't ever want to force anything. And there it goes, dropping in. So now we'll negotiate and get our gasket lined up with our mounting holes. Make our electrical connection. Hook our hoses up, put some gas in it. So we've already rolled the motor over. I still don't have gauges. I'll investigate that. Try to figure out why we don't have any gauges up front. I really want to see that there's oil pressure on this motor before we try to crank it. So we'll get all the bolts in the fuel sending unit. Figure out why we don't have any gauges. Do one last fluid check on it. Clean up our spark plug wires. And it should be ready to fire. Thank you everyone for watching. I'll show you the end result here soon. Thanks again.